Hello everyone, my name is Masterstarman, and I don't usually make some kinds of videos like these, but I felt like doing a little bit of a discussion video today, and I want to talk a little bit about Super Smash Bros. Because as you can probably see by this, and just if you know me in general, I am a really large fan of the Super Smash Bros. Series, ever since the original one. I remember, not to get too historical with all the games, but I remember when I was at my babysitter's when I was really younger, and her son and I were pretty good friends back then. And anyway, one of his cousins was down, and it was like a stormy ass day where we couldn't do anything, so we stayed inside and played N64 games, and then they showed me Super Smash Bros. That day, and I've been hooked ever since. So yeah, it's pretty crazy, and I'm sure that a lot of people know that there's a new game coming out here pretty shortly, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and I am really excited for that. I've been kind of hit or miss on this idea, because I wasn't too sure I was going to, like, if I would have enough substance, I get, for lack of a better term, to make a video like this, but I decided I wanted to make a top 10 characters I'd like to see in Smash. I don't want to say characters I want in Smash, I guess that's probably about it, but it's going to be a very loose thing. It's not going to be like a free-form kind of, like, scripted countdown kind of thing. It's just kind of going to be like this, just freely me talking a little bit and kind of explaining some things, so I think you kind of get the gist of it. I went through, picked 10 characters. One of these, and I'm going to start off with this right now, one of them is kind of a joke character, so hear me out when I say this. But to start it off here, it sounds really strange, but there's a lot of, like, the third-party, 99.9% sure they'll never make it in type characters. Shrek is oddly one of them for some reason. Goku is a big one. But if there's a character like that I'd actually like to see in Smash, I'd actually think it would have to be SpongeBob. It sounds like a really odd choice to start this list off, but yeah, I actually think SpongeBob would be a very good candidate for this. If only that SpongeBob has actually had some pretty decent games, specifically Battle for Bikini Bottom and the SpongeBob movie game, but I think that just from those two games alone, I think that SpongeBob's moveset in those games would actually be really practical for Super Smash Bros. I think that he has a ground pound that he could do for his down special. He has what's called a bash attack, where he, like, from the ground, he does, like, kind of an upward attack. Like, so much of SpongeBob's moveset, I think, just would fit the nature for Super Smash Bros. He has a double jump, he has a spin attack that would be really good. He's, honestly, like, in terms of a pure moveset, I think he's pretty much covered. He's recognizable enough, I think, to be in the series. It's just, again, yeah, they would need to get the rights from Nickelodeon. Although, to be fair, Nintendo and them have done that with Splatoon before, so who knows. My next character that I think would make for a very good choice, kind of an unusual pick, because some people might wonder why I would want this concept again, but I think if they used the Pokemon Trainer concept a second time with some of the other starters, I think that there's actually a lot of, like, possibility that they would have as well, and or a lot of other Pokemon that could possibly work this way as well. And I think if there's 3 Pokemon that I think would make the most sense for this, would be between generations 2, 3, and 4. First of all, I think for the grass starter, I think Grovyle would be perfect for Smash Brothers. Even above its evolution and pre-evolution, I think Grovyle would be literally perfect for Super Smash Bros. And it's not even my favorite of the Hoenn starters, but yeah, I mean, Grovyle has You know, it can use moves like Leaf Blade, it can use, like, really good close quarters attacks, long range attacks. It's a Pokemon that has most of its bases covered. Grovile's like a big fan favorite character in, I believe it's Mystery Dungeon 2, Explorers of Time, Darkness, and Sky, so I think Grovile would honestly be very interesting. And then for the other starters, I mean, this is going to get kind of cliche because it's actually the same kind of order as the regular Pokemon Trainer with a first stage Water, a second stage Grass, and a third stage Fire. But I think Typhlosion would be an interesting character. And I think that Piplup would actually be a very interesting character too. Because Piplup can get a lot of moves, like it can use Bubble Beam, it can use Drill Peck, it can use moves like that. It can use Surf. It's just, there's a lot of it can function very differently from how Squirtle would play, and Typhlosion, I think Typhlosion being something that runs like on 4 legs as opposed to a Charizard who can basically fly, I think Typhlosion would actually make an interesting choice as well. I was thinking Quilava for a while, and I think Quilava would make a little more sense personally, but I also think Grovile makes more sense for a middle stage. So yeah, not a character that's too likely to make it in, but I think that if there was the Pokemon Trainer concept done again, I think that Grovile, Typhlosion, and Piplup would be the choices I would want to see. So yeah, moving right along here, my next choice is kind of a weird one, but I think I would actually like to see Tiff and Tuff from Kirby. I know it sounds really bizarre because they've never been in a video game before, surprisingly, but as being characters in the Kirby Right Back At Ya anime, sure, I have a huge bias and will say that it's one of my favorite shows, but I think that Tiff and Tuff actually would make for interesting characters. Their species is kind of unknown, but what is known about them is that they're faster than most characters on the show. They are strong enough to tackle Escargoon on their own. Tiff at one point learns martial arts from Meta Knight so she could fend off against 3 bullies at once, which, given that some of them use weapons against Tiff and Tiff beats them unscathed, I think that there's honestly potential there, and I think it would kind of be using the Ice Climbers gimmick a little bit, but as for what Tuff could do, I think Tuff can use things like skateboards, slingshots, kind of typical kid stuff, I guess, but while it would be kind of using the Ice Climbers gimmick, I think that Tiff and Tuff have enough setting them apart, and enough uniqueness, I think, that would actually make them a very good candidate for Smash. So, yeah. Okay, my next one is kind of an unusual choice again, because this would be my first Echo fighter, I think, and maybe not my only Echo fighter, but, so we have Olimar and Alf from the Pikmin series in Smash already, but there's 4 other captains that have no representation. Louie, the President, Brittany, and Charlie. Louie and the President are from Pikmin 2. Louie's also in Pikmin 3 as well, I guess. And Brittany and Charlie from Pikmin 3. And, I think that since Alf was originally planned to be an Echo, I think that these characters would actually make for an interesting idea to use the Echo concept a little bit better. Because I think that they could once again use the alternate costume kind of mechanic. Realistically, if any of these characters got in, and the President got in, the President would immediately be my top choice just due to his car horn whistle alone, but yeah. I do think that it's, again, kind of a far-off choice here, but it could work. I think they could each have 2 costumes each, and that would round out the nice even number to 8, like every other character has. It's just something that I think that if Olimar and Alf are in the game, which of all the characters I'm happy those 2 are in just because they're kind of the main characters of Pikmin 1 and 2 in Olimar's case, and Pikmin 3 in Alf's case. But yeah, I think that the other captains probably deserve to have a little bit of screen time of their own. My number 6 choice is a little bit unusual. Most people would say that if there's one of the most requested characters for Smash, it's probably Geno from Super Mario RPG. And I think Geno would be a cool character. But if he got in, yeah, I'd honestly want to see the other character from that game get in too. And by that, of course, I'm talking about Mallow. Because I think it's, as evidence as you'll see later in the list, I think incomplete character rosters is kind of one of the big noticeable gaps right now with Smash. And I would personally really like to see Mallow just in general. I think Mallow's just an interesting character. He has really nice development in Mario RPG. I like some of his abilities. You know, he can use lightning, he can use melee weapons, he can use musical instruments like cymbals. He can use ice, he can use Star Rain for his final smash. He's a character I think that just has all his basics covered. So yeah, I think that naturally, I think he would be a great pick for the roster, if Geno especially got into. I know Geno's kind of the fan favorite character, and with good reason, but I don't know, it would just feel somewhat empty for me to see Geno and not see Mallow. Most of my character picks up to this point are characters I realistically don't expect to see, but it would be kind of nice. Coming up, I think, are just some characters that I think are more likely, I guess. Oh, jeez, excuse me. Starting off with the more likely of candidates would actually be another Echo Fighter. I think, anyway. Flame Shield Up, the only game in the Mother series I've played is Earthbound. But, again, going with incomplete character arcs, I think that it would be interesting to get the protagonist of Mother 1 in Smash, Ninten. If for no other reason than that, I think that Ninten, while he would be similar to Ness, sure, some people would say that it would be basically the third kind of similar character, even though most people also say Lucas and Ness, they think they're similar, but they're really, really different. I say that as a Lucas main, but anyways, yeah, I just think it would be kind of a nice addition. The only other character from Mother I could see really might be, I know some people were thinking Duster from Mother 3, Kumatora and Paula, as well as Boney and Pooh are already part of Final Smash appearances for Ness and Lucas respectively, and Jeff is an assist trophy, so Duster I think is like the only other main character in Earthbound or Mother 3 that hasn't appeared in Smash yet. Besides that, I think the only other character I could see maybe is Klaus as an echo of Lucas. And I don't know if Klaus's costume... Klaus was an alternate costume choice, basically, in Palette Swap, I guess I should say, for Lucas in the last two games. And I don't think that's been seen yet, so... yeah, maybe Klaus might be an alternate fighter, I don't know. I'll stop mentioning this because I feel like I'm bordering on Mother 3 spoilers here, and I'd rather not say that, but yeah. I think Ninten would just be a really cool character, though, to see. Although, yeah, that's just my personal opinion. I've not played Mother 1 myself, but I think that Ninten would be an interesting pick for Smash, even if he'd be very, very similar to Ness. Up next are not one, but two characters from a franchise that I have actually played. And yeah, I don't think I need to say much more. Dixie Kong or Funky Kong. I could see either of these characters being echoes for both DK and Diddy respectively. Dixie's quite different from Diddy, but I could still see her moves functioning in the same basic way. And instead of using, like, Diddy's tail, Dixie could use her hair as an attack. She could have instead of the jetpack, she could have a recovery from Tropical Freeze, which would make perfect sense for Smash. So, Yeah, I think Dixie would be a great candidate for that. I said for a long time that I wanted a new DK or Metroid character. Metroid, we got every friggin' character that I think we're gonna get. And honestly, if we stopped at Samus, Zero Suit Samus, Dark Samus, and Ridley, I'd be fine with that because that's overkill as far as I'm concerned. And I thought for years, I said for years we were never going to get Ridley, and then lo and behold we did. And that kind of softened my blow for wanting another character. But then the fact we got Dark Samus as well, I was already pretty happy about that. So yeah, and the other franchise I wanted a new character from was DK, and we already got King K. Rool confirmed as well, so K. Rool, yeah, I just think if we were to get any other DK character, I think Dixie or Funky would be the most likely of candidates. So yeah. Not gonna lie, I originally had a different character in this slot before I realized that character was kind of relegated to item status already. And I guess I could just go ahead and say that. That character was actually originally Meowth from Pokemon. I haven't seen Meowth in any of the trailers or whatever, but apparently Meowth is in Smash Ultimate as a Pokemon still, which is still fine, I guess. But, yeah, one character that I thought of that I wasn't too sure, but then the more I thought about it, the more that this made sense. I feel like this could almost be a character that's an echo based off another fighter from a different franchise. And I was thinking of Dr. Eggman from Sonic. And for a while I was thinking, well, how the heck could Dr. Eggman work? And then I thought, well, if Dr. Eggman was basically an echo of Bowser Jr., minus like the Koopalings, minus the Shadow Mario Final Smash, and maybe a couple move changes, I could see it. You know, if Dr. Eggman fought in the egg pod, I guess. I don't know what you would really call it, but the flying Eggman thing. You know, I could see that. But then I took it a step further and realized, wait a second, Eggman has a mech in Sonic Adventure 2. And people can say all they want about the mechs, but I think that actually would be an interesting way for Eggman to fight. And going back to the Bowser Jr. parallel, I think what could work is Eggman could eject him for recovery. Eggman could eject himself out of the mech and then be in his egg pod and have similar to Bowser Jr. where that basically have that as his recovery there and be able to like swing like a wrecking ball or something from the egg pod while he's in midair and then his mech respawn whenever he lands. That's basically the same as Bowser Jr.'s moveset. You know, I could see Eggman working really good this way. And then just with the mech too, it could also have, you know, it could focus on it being kind of a longer range character. I don't totally know what it would have for closer range, but I mean, I'm sure with how much crazy stuff Eggman has, it could realistically just work. And then for his final smash, he could either have the laser that he gets in the Sonic Adventure 2 multiplayer, or like the Death Egg robot from Sonic 2. It's like there's so much stuff that I feel Eggman could have up his sleeve to make him a unique enough character. Minus the borrowing a few things from Bowser Jr. here and there. I think it could work, honestly. I think Eggman would be a really fitting character for Smash, given that Sonic's kind of the antagonist, or Sonic's the protagonist, and get the main villain from it, so yeah. So, speaking of Sonic, my next character is kind of an unusual three-way tie, but all these characters have two things in common that I think would make for interesting characters. And these characters are Shadow the Hedgehog from Sonic, Ken from Street Fighter, and Miss Pac-Man. So, a lot of people would probably ask, well, on first glance you may be wondering where I picked these three characters from, but some of these I would honestly be surprised if they weren't in Smash, especially with the gimmick of Echo Fighters. Shadow is heavily rumored at this point, because Shadow was an assist trophy in Brawl and Smash 4 and is no longer an assist hasn't been seen as an assist trophy yet. So a lot of people are speculating Shadow's an Echo of Sonic. And all of these characters, I think, would be great Echo fighters. Shadow and Sonic have a couple of differences, but their core basic abilities are very, very similar. They're both about the same speed. They both have, at their core basic, they both have a lot of the same abilities. And we've already got confirmation with Chrom that Echo Fighters don't have note for note the same movesets. Chrom has Ike's recovery instead of Roy's. So, because of that, a lot of people were thinking for Shadow, he could basically have something like Mewtwo's teleport recovery, and for Chaos Control as well, he could have something like Bayonetta's Witch Time, which I think both of those would fit Shadow really, really well. And then otherwise, he could basically be the same as Sonic, maybe a little more power-based? I don't know, really. I mean, there's not really much of a difference between Sonic and Shadow's power, but they could work perfectly fine. Ken from Street Fighter, I'm surprised he wasn't even in Smash 4 as like an alternate costume. B, I'd be damn shocked if Ken did not make it in Smash Ultimate, given that Ken was basically the original Echo Fighter, or clone, or whatever you want to call him, of fighting games. He was basically note for note almost he had like one difference from Ryu in the original Street Fighter 2, so yeah, I think that if Ken didn't get in, I would honestly be just shocked if he didn't. But I could easily see him getting in as an Echo of Ryu. An alternate costume would have been fine, but especially with the advent of Echo Fighters, I think it's mostly likely. And on that note, too, I didn't think about this until more recently, but Miss Pac-Man also, I think, falls in this category as well. Shadow, Pac-Man, and Ryu are all third-party characters, and I think that all three of them have all these could work as Echo Fighters. Miss Pac-Man realistically could just be a skin, let's be realistic here, but there's really nothing Pac-Man can do that she can't. So, yeah, I think that if Miss Pac-Man did get in, I think that she's pretty likely, if you ask me, or she would make sense if she got in. She's probably less likely than Shadow or Ken, but I think that Miss Pac-Man would make sense for Smash. Even as an alternate costume, which I don't think she is. I think all Pac-Man's alternates have been seen already, but yeah. And lastly, sometimes I have to be a big obvious fan, a big obvious candidate here. I'm a big Kirby fan. I love Kirby's Return to Dreamland. There's one character from that game that's sorely absent in the roster. I'm gonna have to say Bandana Waddle Dee is my most wanted character in the game. Bandana Waddle Dee, I've seen some people ask me how Bandana Waddle Dee would make sense. Presumably people who either just haven't played Smash. First of all, I think it would be remarkable that it would be the first character to use a spear in Smash. And it's one of those things when you have a character who's become kind of a fan favorite in more recent years, and also just is on the same level as Kirby, Dedede, and Meta Knight. He's respected enough by all those peers as, like, the fourth member of that group, and those three are already in Smash Bros. I just think that Bandana Waddle Dee makes sense just on pure merits of that alone. I could also realistically see Bandana Dee as an assist trophy, given his roles in Triple Deluxe and Planet Robobot, where he just basically gave you health every time you fought a mini-boss, so I would prefer him more as playable than assist, but I mean, if he got in the game at all, if he got in as an assist trophy, I would see that, personally. if there was anyone else from Kirby, I already mentioned Tiff and Tuff, but I'm not too faithful given we have no other anime representation, or any other representation of them at all besides the anime. Maybe... I thought of... A lot of people think Marks would be a cool character, and I do too. I think Marks would be pretty cool. I thought of Gooey as an Echo for Kirby would actually be an interesting idea, because Gooey has Kirby's copy ability, but I think that would just be a lot of effort to make an Echo fighter be able to copy all the other 70 characters' hats already. It's just kind of a lot that I don't realistically expect at this point. There's a lot of Meta Knight Echoes we can honestly go for. Most people think of Galacta Knight, and I think that's with good reason, but I think that, just to be more original, I would actually like to see Dark Meta Knight, personally. Then again, as great as Superstar Ultra is, Amazing Mirror is my favorite Kirby game, so that might be why I'm thinking of Dark Meta Knight a little bit more. There's also another Knight in Star Allies as well that a lot of people are thinking, but I think Galacta or even Dark Meta Knight are more likely than that one. But ideally, I think that Bandana Waddle Dee would be the character I'd want to see the most. So yeah, that's just kind of my list of characters I would want to see in Super Smash Bros. This is just purely my opinion. If anybody else has any, I'm sure that a lot of people probably disagree with this, or not disagree, but I'm sure a lot of people probably have their own opinions of who they would like and not like to see. There's some characters like Rex and Pyra from Xenoblade 2 that I think would be cool additions, but I've never played Xenoblade 2, so I literally know nothing about them other than that they exist and that they're really wanted for Smash, so if they get in, I think that would be cool. There's a lot of RPG characters that a lot of people want. Lloyd from Tales of Symphonia, Isaac from Golden Sun. There's a lot of characters that are from games I've never played that would be kind of cool, but not too terribly likely. So yeah, these are just kind of the 10 characters I think that would be interesting for Smash, and half this list I honestly doubt would get in, but if they did, that would be awesome. And yeah, thank you for watching me ramble for almost a half hour. I've been Masterstarman, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.